It's here then, the Weekend Watches Royal Ascot 2021 preview. I'm glad we've had so many of you making sure we're going to do one, but we are. Here it is. We're going to cover Tuesday and Wednesday's racing mainly. If the guys got anything else they want to say at the end, they can, and then they will cover throughout the week for you. I'm sure majority of the races through other videos and tips for Thursday, Friday as well, and then we'll cover Saturdays in our next preview, which is normally recorded on a Thursday. So do check all those out. We are forecast a bit of rain, aren't we, later in the week? So do wonder what they'll do about watering at Royal Ascot. But the first race on day one then at 2:30 is the Queen Anne Stakes, Group 1. Over a mile. We don't have to wait long to see Palace Pier, which I'm really looking forward to. We've got a couple of horses who've won the race in the past as well. We've got Lord Glitters and Accidental Agent both in there. Obviously, Palace Pier not valuing the race, so I suppose that's something for us to try and find. Daryl, do you want to start us this week?
Yes. Belter of a race, this opening one. Very difficult to try and take Palace Pier on. I think I was going through and I was trying to pick little things out. Like I thought he might have been favoured by the bias at Newbury, slightly middle to stand side. This is going to be the fastest ground he's raced on since a 2-year-old at Sandown. I'm not a total believer, to be honest with you, of the Newbury form with Lady Beaufort in second. I can't have the fact that she's improved £9 there. And there's a lot of horses in behind that just underperformed on the day. He still did it impressively, so it's very difficult to pull him apart, to be honest. I'm going to play in the without markets for this race, and I'm going to back two. I'm going to back Bless Him at 50-1. Obvious reasons. He loves the track. If he can put up a similar performance to what he did when beating Lord North here, he's going to be there or thereabouts with a shout. He's got a fantastic straight track record, and he was beaten 8 lengths by Palace Pier at Sandown last time out, but his straight track, it just sees him to best effect. He's not going to improve. He's got tons to find, but he's a big price, and I think he could hit the frame. The other one is Accidental Agent. I thought it was a cracking run at Newbury last time. First start after a wind operation. Chased home Ascension. It was given a stone or more weight to everything else in the race. This horse loves this track, and he loves this race. He won in 2018. He was close up in 2019, and he wasn't too far off Circus Maximus last year in this race. I thought he was just in that race last year. I just thought he was undone by a bit of a slow pace. It favoured those on the front end. He had to pull wide. He was on the wrong side of the track. I just thought there was reasons to upgrade that performance. And I just think he's coming into himself. I think he's in good heart at the moment. I really like that Newbury run. So I thought I think he's about 40-1 without the favourite. So I thought in each way punt there on Accidental Agent and Bless Him. But a small bet, without the favourites to be involved in the first race, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds good. Andrew?
Yeah, very similar to Daryl. I thought Palace Pier was bomb-proof. I know his only defeat came at this track, but Frankie Dettori was looking down that day, and the ground was absolutely desperate. And I think you can safely draw a line through that. That certainly seems to be the case on what he's achieved since. He bolted up in the Lockinge. And in terms of looking for an each-way alternative or without the favourite, like Daryl, I thought Bless Him had half a chance given his love for the track. But I thought Sir Busker and Top Rank were more interesting. Top Rank's progressive. He's got an extremely high career strike rate. He was placed behind Palace Pier at Newbury last time out. He won't mind the quicker ground. And Sir Busker, I thought, was particularly interesting. He was an eye-catcher on his seasonal debut. That was over course and distance, finishing third. Ran in France last time out. Ran okay, never seriously involved from off the pace. He's drawn closer to Palace Pier than his Top Rank. I'm a little bit worried about stall 1 for Top Rank. He might be a bit sort of drawn out of it in what could be a steadily run race. So Sir Busker each way or without the favourite is the one I've come down on the side of.
Okay, plenty of value then in that first race. You can either have a little bit on all of them and hope 1 or 2 pay off, or pick which one you prefer. On to the Coventry Stakes then, Group 2. We've got American and Irish Raiders currently leading the market from a betting point of view. Kaufymaker, she's a monster of a horse, isn't she? Really looking forward to seeing how she gets on. She bolted up in a maiden. I think there's loads of videos and footage for pieces of her work as well on Twitter, on YouTube, all of that. So do check those out. I think she'd be the bet of the week for me. I'm really looking forward to seeing Kaufymaker. As I say, she's a monster if you see her in the flesh. And I won't get to, unfortunately. Andrew?
I quite like Massetto here for Donica O'Brien. This one was a winner on his debut at Navan, and then he was favourite to beat Castle Star at the Curragh in the Marble Hill Stakes Group 3 contest. There was a really strong bias that day. The stand-side rail was dead. All the winners were coming down the middle of the track or in the big handicaps later on the far side. So Castle Star got clear daylight down the middle of the track, whereas Musetto met trouble, dropped back, and then came again and raced closer to the stand-side rail than was ideal. So I thought he had a chance of reversing the form here. I thought you could easily forgive that. It was still a good effort. He stayed on to finish a 2-length second in the Group 3. But I thought Musetto was the one to take from that race rather than the winner. I know a lot of people were taken by the winner because he travelled so strongly throughout. Could be called the winner from some way out. But I thought Musetto at the prices was the way to go here.
Okay, Daryl?
Yeah, really good race this again. Berkshire Shadow is the one I'm going to side with at a big price. The debut run at Newbury, I was really taken with it. Basically fell out of the stalls, lost plenty of lengths on the field, and then made up significant ground in really eye-catching fashion to finish really strongly, to come out a winner. He looked like he was probably going to finish about 4th or 5th. You know, you would have turned around and said that was a great run, keep an eye on him for next time. But he got the job done, and I was just so taken by it. Gisborne was obviously behind that day. I think he would have finished a lot closer with a clearer run. He's obviously franked the form. He's a nice horse. I think the two of those are where my focus is going to be for this race. This Berkshire Shadow, obviously stepping up to 6 furlongs now, it's definitely going to suit on pedigree. It's just a really eye-catching performance. And you've not really got a lot to go on in these races, have you? These unexposed 2-year-olds, you know, they're going to take big steps forward, or they're not going to, you know, perform to the level they have done. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, every bet you have in these 2-year-old races, you're taking a little bit of a risk. But I thought Berkshire Shadow and Gisborne would be the two that I would be most interested in.
Yeah, and the current prices I've got for them are very different as well. So Gisborne is only 7s, whereas Berkshire Shadow is about 20 to 1. So
yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, I know Gisborne has already taken that next step forward, you know, next time out. But and he does look like a very nice horse. It very much reminds me of Mum's Tipple.
Yeah.
But Berkshire Shadow definitely got plenty more to come and step up trips.
Maybe not quite as difficult as Mum's Tipple.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. The King's Stand next, Group 1 over 5 furlongs. We all know that Batash is the banana short of a bunch, if you know anything about racing. Does come here, they're looking to retain his title. We've got the return of the crowds, haven't we, to think about with Batash, because he's a very edgy horse, and whether that will be a big detriment to him, we'll see. Daryl, do you want to start us with the King's Stand, please?
Yeah, I'm always on the wrong side of Tash, but I just feel like you've got to take him on. He's 7 years old now. There is so much pace in this race. It's ridiculous. But Tash is going to go forward. Winter Power is going to go forward. I think Oxford will go forward, dropping back and trip. Cua Moro, Maven, Ornate, Glamorous Anna. There is so much pace. I think this is going to set
Liberty
up for something.
Beach made all last time.
Exactly. I think there's you could just pick a number of front runners, and I don't think Batash can have things all his own way. I think he's gets a bit claustrophobic sometimes. Like you said, he's not all there, is he? I think you got to take him on. I think you got to take him on at the age of 7. I do. And saying that, I'm going to side with an 8-year-old. It's Extravagant Kid. I really, really like this performance. His performance in Kingland in a Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint behind glass slippers that day, but was drawn stall 14, raced about 5 or 6 wide round a bend, finished with a power pack punch. This horse is definitely not improving, but runs consistently to a high level. Ran at Maydown last time and comfortably took care of Final Song in the Aldaary Sprint. That form does need improving on to win this, of course, but I just felt there was so much pace in this race that he always finishes strongly over 5. He can race over 6. He's won over 6, and I just thought it was going to set up perfectly for him. The other one I was quite interested in as well was King's Lynn, because I'm not entirely sure that this horse is a 5 furlong horse, but he does stick to the task very gamely and very strongly. And I just thought if they just sat off the pace with him, he wouldn't be stopping at the finish. And that was the angle I was trying to look at. I was hoping there's going to be a pace collapse in this race. And I'm looking for something that's going to benefit from it. So King's Lynn and Extravagant Kid would be the two that I'm going to back. I'm going to back I'm going to back 2 horses in a lot of races this week.
Yeah.
Just where the price, you've got so many good horses at big prices. I think it's hard to steer away from some of them.
Well, I'm copying. King's Lynn was my value as well in there because it was held up and I thought won well last time in the end. So same thing again if they go too quick. But yeah, I think about 20s at the moment. Andrew?
Yeah, I'm not as restrained as Daryl. I'm going to be backing probably 3, 4, or 5 horses in most races this week. But and in this race, I'm very keen on Arecibo. Drawn in stall 15 of 15. According to the going stick, that's certainly going to be an advantage on day one. They're saying the ground's marginally quicker towards the stand side.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was a very frustrating type when with David O'Mara, often ran in big field handicaps, travelled strongly, didn't find, finishing second or third. He's gone to Robert Cowell this year, the Sprint King, who, of course, has had a whole host of Group 1 winners and sprints, owned by Tom Morley, who you and I have both worked with on radio earlier. And he's had 3 runs for the yard, all at Newmarket, 2 handicap wins, and an unlucky in running effort in the Palace House when badly hampered. I was really taken by the first of those wins because he was drawn on the wrong part of the track and still managed to win comfortably. Slight concern about the size of the field. All his wins have come in fields of 11 or less. But as Daryl says, loads of pace in this race. He's got Jamie Spencer on board. So if you're looking for someone to weave your way through and get a place, then why not? I mean, Battage, again, like Daryl, I've always seemed to be on the receiving end of him. If I go with him, he gets beat. If I'm against him, he ends up winning, beating my horse into second. As he did in this race last year. I'm hoping that he boils over because of the the crowds coming back, and but even when even 2-3 years ago when he was second to Blue Point both times, there were crowds there. He did that, and he still run good races. So he's going to be bang there. But when he was sort of 15-8 earlier in the week, I just thought I can take him on at that price. So I'm with Arecibo each way. I spoke to Tom Morley, his owner, the other day. He said he's extremely well. He's obviously up in class, but he feels he's deserved his crack at this sort of grade, and he says he hopes he's going to continue to surprise people. And I think with a clear run, he could do that here around about 33-1.
Yeah, big price. Okay. St James's Palace next then. This is the first race on the round course. La Barrosa, I'm going to stick with La Barrosa, fancying for the Craven, ran well. Ground probably didn't suit him in the Irish 2,000 guineas, got some good course form. And I just think he's a good horse that just perhaps hasn't had ideal conditions in recent starts. So is a little bit of value. So I do have a pick in at 420, and it is La Barrosa. Andrew, do you want to start us for this?
Yeah, cracking race this, and hopefully be run at a decent pace. And what we tend to see at Ascot on the round course when there's a decent sized field is that the front runners towards the inside rail get swamped late on by something that's ridden patiently from a highish draw, coming late and wide down the middle of the track. And with luck, that's what we'll see here. That there's 2 I liked. One of them is Lucky Vega, who was only 4th behind Max Sweeney at the Curragh in the Irish 2000 last time out. But that was the Curragh meeting where there was a massive bias. Every race pretty much was won by a horse who made the running or was in the first sort of 2 or 3 throughout. Lucky Vega was held up in midfield, did well to finish 4th. The 3 who beat him were all up with the pace throughout. And he was only just chinned at Newmarket in our guineas the time before, behind Poetic Flair, when again perhaps racing away from the action. So I thought Lucky Vega had a good chance of reversing 2,000 guineas form with Poetic Flair. And Chinder is another horse I've been a big fan of. He was a massive eye catcher when winning on his debut at Doncaster last July because there was a really strong headwind. He got no cover from it, yet still won. Now, since then, he's only been beaten twice. Once when he hated the ground in the Dewhurst on his final start last year, and then last time out in the Guineas when he failed to settle, and again he was drawn away from the action. Still ran a good race in 5th. It was a bit worrying before that race. Richard Hannon sort of said he wasn't sure whether he'd end up being a sort of 6 furlong horse or a 10 furlong horse, and he changed his mind halfway through the winter. So hopefully now the way he stayed on there, they know he's a miler. Should get a decent pace to chase with Namu's likely to take them along. And so I'm with Lucky Vega and Chindit. I'll just split stakes between the pair.
Okay, Daryl?
Yeah, I echo Andrew's thoughts about Chindit. I thought you can forgive both runs at Newmarket. He didn't enjoy the track, I didn't think. And he did catch the eye staying on really strongly, even though he didn't settle in the race in the Guineas. I think he's got a lot more to come. I really do. His form's working out quite well as well. He's a really nice horse. I just don't want them to... They tend to give him hold-up rides. I just don't want them to give him far too much to do.
And you'll come away from it. He's ran on well again.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I feel like he might be one of those horses that's going to end up catching the eye, and they're not giving him the credit he deserves, I guess. But yeah, I thought he was interesting, and I wanted to give Battleground another try. That obviously wasn't his running in the Guineas. He just didn't handle the track at all. I just think if you can put a line straight through that, and if he returns to some of his juvenile form, notably he's running in the Breeders' Cup juvenile turf where he was just stuck wide around the whole. He was just forced about 6 or 7 wide round the two bends, and he just stuck on so strongly at the finish. And there were signs of a very good horse. He does need to bounce back. It's interesting. The O'Brien runners have both got first time tongue ties on in here, so how that's going to affect him, we don't know. But yeah, this is a belting race. This is so deep. But like we said a couple of weeks ago, I don't think outside of St Mark's Basilica, I don't think there's a standout 3-year-old this year. That's why this is so deep. You know what I mean? Because they're all very good. I did think that Barrosa was well overpriced at 20-1 as well, because the form lines tie with Master of the Seas tie right in with Poetic Flair, don't they? So, 4-1, 20-1. But you could sort of make a case for every runner in this race, to be honest. It's so competitive. But Battleground and chinned it, I guess. But I think I'm just going to sit back and watch this race, if I'm being honest. Because I literally could back La Barrosa. I could back Thunder Moon, put a line through that last run. And, he was so impressive in the National Stakes last year. There's so many reasons for improvement from these horses. It's probably not going to be a betting race for me.
But La Barrosa's more value, so just back that one.
Yeah, the only thing with La Barrosa is, though, do you think that La Barrosa is a stronger stayer at a mile? Yeah, that was my question mark. That was all. I mean, I love the horse. I just want to see him hit that line hard over a mile.
Yeah, like in the Craven, I suppose he was headed in the kind of closing stages, but we'll see. Okay, difficult one, the 420 then. That's it for the big races. Handicaps for either of you on the Tuesday. If there is or isn't anything at the moment. Andrew, do you want to give me any if you've got any for the handicaps?
Yeah, the 2.5 mile Ascot Stakes at 5 o'clock. Willie Mullins has got a good record in this race. 4 winners and a host of placed horses from 15 runners. All those winners ran over hurdles last time out, as do all 3 of his qualifiers here. And I was quite interested in Royal Illusion. I think the biggest price of his trio here. Again, he's done particularly well with mares that he's run in this race. A winner in 2 seconds from 4 starts. And again, she fell in a Grade 1 hurdle at Fairy House last time out, but she likes the ground. I thought she was the most attractively priced of hers. So yeah, Tom Marquand taking the ride. That looks like a solid booking. So Royal Illusion in the 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I think currently about 16-1 at the time of recording this video I've got. Daryl?
6:10, the final race on the card. I was going to take a stab at Throne Hall at a big price. I thought this horse has just been catching the eye the last few starts. His form with Illarab has worked out really well. They've met each other a couple of times. And I thought the step up in trip was definitely going to suit Throne Hall in the 6:10. Off a mark of 100.
Yeah, still a lightly raced 4-year-old is Throne Hall. Andrea Mazzini rides for his retained owners. I think about 12-1, but was bigger, was 16. So again, at the time of recording this video. On to Wednesday then, and we've got the Queens of Ours coming up at 3:05, and it's another long distance race, Route 2, and Aidan O'Brien, will he dominate this race again, as he often does? Daryl, would you like to start us for that 3:05 on Wednesday?
Yeah, this race is always a good pointer to the St Leger later on in the season. A couple of horses have done the double for Aidan O'Brien. I like one of his is Arturo Toscanini. I actually backed this horse at 100-1 for the Derby. Just didn't show up. He's not quick at all, but he managed to win over 7 furlongs in his debut at the car. It was heavy ground. And then he came to Newmarket and just ran no sort of race at all. Now, that is my one concern. He's now travelling again. And I'm just wondering if it was the travel or if it was Newmarket. I'm hoping it was something different. But then goes back to the car in a Group 3 and he finished second to Ellswood. Stayed on really strongly at the finish. I know, again, soft and heavy ground. But I think the trip will counteract the ground. You know what I mean? I think he's a stayer rather than ground-dependent horse. To achieve what he's achieved in 3 runs, I think is quite remarkable, really. Not the choice of Ryan Moore. He goes for the expensive Wordsworth. But Ryan's got it wrong a couple of times. Yeah, Arturo Toscanini. I just thought he's so unexposed. He looks just like a ledger type to me. Yeah, I'd take a stab at him.
Yeah, and it's kind of a super each way betting race, this, isn't it? We've got fairly short price Wordsworth, and then loads of each way value. Andrew?
Yeah, tricky one. I mean, since they changed this race to a mile 6 contest and upped it to Group 2 status, 4 trainers have dominated: Aidan O'Brien, John Gosden, Charlie Appleby and Andrew Balding. Those 4 have had 14 of the 16 horses who finished in the first 4. So if there's bookies offering sort of, each way 4 places, it might be worth concentrating on that quartet. I mean, Stradivarius won this at 11-2. That must be the hindsight bet of the century. But the one I was leaning towards was, say, Recovery Run. Since they cut this race back and upped it in class, Andrew Balding's had 4 runners. He's had a winner and 2 seconds in that time. And I thought Recovery Run, despite a couple of poor efforts this season, might be worth chancing. Now, didn't like the soft ground at Lingfield last time in the Derby trial. The time before that ran as though the outing were needed when down the field at Sandown. Has got winning form on good to firm ground. I thought with those 2 runs behind him now, he took a while to sort of get going last season. I just thought this track might suit as well. And so, yeah, Recovery Run, 16-1, 20-1 might just be worth a couple of quid each way, but it's only a very tentative stab.
Yeah, good though each way price, that one, as you say. I think about 16 here. And Arturo Toscanini for Daryl. That's for that 305. The Duke of Cambridge next, Group 2 for the ladies, over a mile. I know Daryl keeps trying to slag the form of Lady Bowthorpe, but I'm ignoring it. Looking forward to seeing her again for Emma Banks. I thought that was a really good run behind Palace Pier. Daryl laughed my each way selection out of the park, so he's not allowed to even talk about Lady Bowthorpe for this. No, but I do like her, but obviously she's very short now. So dropping into Group 2 company. They're looking forward to seeing how she gets on. And because of Daryl's meanness about it, we'll let Andrew start.
Yeah, when I was looking at my sort of 5 favourites to oppose Royal Ascot column for GG, I had a good hard look at Lady Bowthorpe, looked at the price and thought, well, and I couldn't pick holes in her. Is she going to like the track? She'll be fine on it. Will she like the ground? Absolutely fine. She's incredibly consistent. And you could argue that because she's trained by William Jarvis and not a John Gosden, she's probably overpriced at the current. Yeah. And again, the good thing as well, if you do fancy her or you think you might back her, you've got the chance to see how the Lockinge form unfolds on day 1 with the winner and third taking each other on again. So, if they finish 1-2, just adds more weight to the case. But again, I'm going to take her on at the prices, go for an each way stab with Champs-Élysées here for Johnny Murtagh. Now, again, this one ran at that Curragh meeting on the 22nd of May, where it was a massive, massive advantage to be up with the pace. And she was favourite for a Group 2 contest for fillies and mares, and just was given a hold-up ride. She was 6-5, never got into the race. She's actually run much better than her finishing position suggests. And again, you look at the first 3 home, led after a furlong, chase leaders. The third started quickly, led. And it was just a case of not being able to make ground up from off the pace. This will be more to her liking, should be run to suit her. Come from behind styles are ideal for Ascot. She's 12-1 or thereabouts. So, yeah, each way, Champs-Élysées for me.
Okay. Currently, again, at the time of recording, about 10-1 I've got for Champs-Élysées, so each way value. Daryl?
Yeah, I'm obviously going to take Lady Bowthorpe on.
Of course you are.
I just don't believe she's improved that much in two runs this season. I don't really. She beat Queen Power by a head on her penultimate start season reappearance, and then she chased home Palace Pier, and she's priced on her finishing second to Palace Pier. And I'm of the opinion that a lot of horses underperformed in that race. So I'm definitely going to take her on. I think outside of that Palace Pier run, the form horse in the race is Agincourt, who finished second last year, ahead second to Nazif. This horse has run her best races second time out. And I thought she put in a great performance at Goodwood in that listed race. She was giving a lot of weight to 2 progressive 3-year-olds who she split. Obviously, the third Lilac Road's come out and ran a good race behind Creative Flair next time at Newbury. So I do like that form, and she always seems to take a step forward. She won the second time out in 2019. She was ahead second to Nazif in this race in 2020. I think she's entitled to improve again, and she's consistently underestimated. So I think around 16-1. I think she's a cracking bet, really. No problem with the course, the ground. I think she's got the best form in the race, perhaps. So yeah, I think she's going to bounce back to form. The other one was Bounce. I keep saying Bounce. Bounce the Blues is the other one. Very, very lightly raced. And if she would have got a clear run at Lingfield in the Group 3 last time, she would have bolted up. She would have absolutely bolted up in that race. And there's not a chance if she would have got that clear run, she'd be a 16-1 shot in there. She is so lightly raced, improving with every single start. Has done nothing wrong. I love that she's got a smart turn of foot. She's a strong stayer. There is definitely more to come from her as well. So they're the two, both at 16-1, I think. I'm going to back both of them against Lady Beaufort.
Okay. So Agincourt and Bounce the Blues, as Daryl just said, I think both are about 16-1. And Champs-Élysées for Andrew, 10s, and I'm going with the favourite, boring Lady Beaufort. But I've just got to stick it to Daryl when she wins. Let's move on anyway. The Prince of Wales Stakes, Group 1, 420. We've got last year's winner. We talked about Lord North earlier. That's where Lord North is going next. Has obviously had a stint over in Dubai, is now back here, but may well be just as warm by the looks of things. Daryl, would you like to start with Lord North?
Not with Lord North, but yeah.
Not with him, but with him.
Yes. Again, another cracking race. Love is surprisingly a big price, I think, which I'm always slightly concerned when something is surprisingly bigger than I thought it should be. And she's making her seasonal reappearance. So what to expect, I don't know. And she's probably going to have, I say bigger targets. I mean, this is a Group 1, but her ultimate aim is probably going to be for the Arc later in the season, isn't it? Look, she'll be fit to do herself justice, no doubt about that. I want to take on the head of the market here. I think there's one that's well overpriced in this race, and that horse is Aldaary for James Franshaw. I think she has arguably one of the strongest pieces of form in this race with her third to Tanawa at Longchamp. Tanawa went out next time and won the Breeders' Cup Turf over in Keeneland. Beating Magical, Channel Maker, and Lord North. And Alpine Star split the pair, Aldaary and Tanawa. That horse has got the strongest form lines, outside of Palace Pier, in my opinion. And the fact that she was only 3/4 of a length off the winner that day, I think she's got plenty more to come. She goes very well fresh. She's a massive price for the form lines that she's shown. I just don't understand why she's such a big price. Maybe it's because she's making a reappearance.
Don't worry, Andrew will tell you in a minute because he's nodding his head, so he can tell you why, I think. Aldaary then for you is a big price, as you say, so you could back that one each way. I know there's not going to be many runners, but all the same, or without a favourite or whatever. Andrew, tell us why Aldaary is 16.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Aldaary, Breeders' Cup winner, of course, but I just thought she's better in a bigger field because she can fail to settle in small fields, and she is 0 from 3 on her seasonal debuts. So I know one of those she was, beating her nose, but I just thought maybe it was a case of the race won't be run to suit, and there are bigger targets for her in the autumn. But I'm not going to poo-poo a 16-1 shot because there's very little upside. Because if you're right, people say, well, of course she got beat, she was 16-1, and if you're wrong, you look like a complete turnip.
Turnip, is that the word we're using today? So we're
that's right. Remember what we said? No potty mouth. Yeah, I mean, this is really tricky now. It's cut up. There's not a great deal of pace in the race, and you just wonder. Maybe Sangarius, who probably needs it softer anyway. Will there be a bit of a sort of tactical battle here? Armory could be up there. That one is probably the way I'd go here, thinking that Love's got the bigger autumn targets and she might just need this. Lord North will ideally need it softer, despite being impressive in this race last year. And so it's just messy for me. And I just think, given that you're probably going to get a steady pace, Sangarius, then Armory tracking that one in second, the others held up, might just be a case of Armory getting first run and the third favourite causing a very minor upset. But yeah, it was a race I was finding it tricky to find a way into, really.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. What have we got next? Anything else on Wednesday? We're on to the handicaps for Wednesday, so I'm sure there will be. Obviously difficult races again. Handicaps will have plenty more runners. Daryl, is there anything you like in any of the big handicaps?
I do like one for the for the Queen Mary, the first race of the day.
Okay, that's fine.
Desert Dreamer, unbeaten in 2 starts. She has been very, very impressive. To do what she's done so early in her career at a track like Newmarket, and to win from the unpromising positions that she found herself in, marks her down as a useful horse in my eyes. Got to take on obviously this Wesley Ward Hot Pot Twilight Gleaming, but I think Desert Dreamer's got a lot more to come, and the form has worked out remarkably well as well. The 6:10, I wanted to side with Stunning Beauty. Tipped her up last time. On her return, she went over to Maydown, ran 2 terrible races, then she came back at Doncaster after a short break, and she beat Le Bon. I think she's got tons more to come. I'll do this horse, and I don't think this is that deep of a race. There was once quoting this horse as being a Group 1 filly, so I think she's got a lot more to come. She's entitled to improve for that run at Doncaster. Very lightly raced, and she's already beaten Lights On, who's the fav in here. I know Lights On's probably improved since then, but she destroyed her at Leicester. And I think she's a bit of value in the race at about 10-1.
Okay. Anything else? That's it for Wednesday. Andrew?
Yeah, beat Le Bon in the Hunt Cup was one I mentioned anti-post when he was about 50s, but he's into 20s and he's drawn in stall 2 on the far side. But he ran an astonishing race on his comeback at Newmarket. That was the first day of the Craven meeting when the Golden Highway was in full operation. If you weren't prominent and drawn high up that stand-side rail, you didn't have a prayer. He's kept on into 5th down the middle of the track from off the pace. He's gone to Leicester next time, 4 runners, and rather foolishly elected to make the running, which put paid to his chances. He bounced back to form on a straight track at Doncaster last time, finishing 2nd by a head. I thought it might be a case of all roads lead to Goodwood because he's 2 from 2 in handicaps at Goodwood. But it's interesting they've come here and he's been well backed in recent days. It's just I've not looked at the race yet to see if there's enough pace on that far side, whether the evidence of day 1 will tell us that whether a low draw's possible to overcome or not. So I'll put a tentative vote next to beat Le Bon, but I do need to do more work on it. So keep an eye on my column for to see whether I've actually bet the horse or not.
Okay, yeah, I think beat Le Bon currently about 22-1. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Okay, they're obviously the handicaps. As we've said already, there obviously is going to be other selections throughout, and they will update things because I think we are forecast on rain Tuesday night. We don't know what they're going to do about watering for tomorrow, so ground conditions could change as well. Is there anything just quickly later on in the week that either of you already know you're going to back?
I'll just breeze through them. On Thursday in the Britannia Stakes, Air to Air, trained by George Bowie. Ideal ride for Jamie Spencer, come from behind horse who won off a decent pace at Doncaster last time over at Straight Mile. He's favourite, but 12-1 favourite, so he showed things to suit. Our old friend Mo Celita has entered in the 6:10 on Friday. She's, I think, 5 from 5 now since joining Adrian Nichols. It'll be fascinating to see how she gets on. And then on Saturday, a couple in the Wokingham, Repartee for Kevin Ryan, first run after the wind up. And Fresh for James Fanshawe, who's a course and distance winner, has got the ideal patient running style for the track. And finally, in the Hardwick Stakes on Saturday, 1.5 mile Group 2, Highland Chief, who was only 5th of the 6 runners in the Coronation Cup at Epsom the other day. But it's better below Grade 1 company. And it's had 2 runs at Royal Ascot before, won a handicap here at 20-1 last year. And in 2019 was 3rd to Pinatubo when 14-1 for the Chesham. So I thought coming back to Ascot was the key to Highland Chief there.
Okay. And again, please do keep looking at the Twitter and the GG.CO.UK page because they will be updated, and Andrew and Daryl's personal social medias as well, in case they change their mind or in case any of those don't go. Daryl? I'll
just give you one. Thursday, 6:10, the Buckingham Palace handicap. Aldaary is going to run. He's a 3-year-old. He's getting £9 from his rivals. He's effectively running off a mark of 96, and he's already recorded a racing post rating of 111 over the course and distance at Ascot. That is a group horse in a handicap.
Okay. And I got 2 as well for later on in the week because I won't be doing an updated version of Thursday or Friday. So Companionship, big each way price in the Sandringham. Easy ground wise, versatile, I thought, but beat Canal Door fair and square in a maiden on the all weather. That one's bolted up recently at Goodwood, so I think that one looks a bit of value after being disappointing. I say disappointing, was hiked right up in grade last time at Companionship. This a bit easier, so like Companionship in the Sandringham. And hello you, I tipped that horse up when she bolted up at Wolverhampton. Nice horse, won by 6 lengths, could have won by a lot further. She should go in the Albany. So they're the 2 for later in the week for me. From both of you, strongest fancy, best bet out of all the ones we've talked about, please?
I'll go Arecibo in the Kingstand Stakes on day 1, 33 to 1 to blast us to the front with a bit of luck.
Okay, Daryl?
Aldaary on Thursday in the 610. My bet of the week.
And mine is boring. It's the favourite. It's Kaufymaker in the Coventry for Wesley Ward. I know it's boring, but sorry. Or Companionship. That's the next best bet. So if that's too short for you. That's it. We've tried to whiz through them as best we can to not to bore you for too long. Fingers crossed there will be some winners in there. We had a good weekend last weekend as well, with a couple of the selections and maps going in. As I said, please do check out the guys' social media. Daryl Carter and Andrew is Trend Horses. So check them out on Twitter. They update their personal pages all the time, and GG.CO.UK as well as the GG Twitter as well. There'll be loads of stuff on there, more than ever, of course, this week with it being Royal Ascot. So we'll do our best to keep you updated. Do go on the website, GG.CO.UK, for all the race cards, all videos and extra tips. And I hope we've helped you some for the week ahead.